Good day everyone. In this video guys, we will be discussing the labor law and employment in the Philippines. It includes the workers' rights, employers' responsibilities and obligations, collective bargaining and labor unions, then lastly, the dispute resolution and mechanism as provided to us by the existing laws and policies in the Philippines. So, introduction to labor laws in the Philippines. The foundation of labor laws in the Philippines is embedded in the Labor Code, Presidential Decree number 442, which was established in 1974 by the former President Ferdinand Marcos. This code serves as the primary legal framework that regulates the employment practices, the labor standards, and worker protection. Over the years, class, it has been amended to address the emerging issues and to adapt to changes in the labor market. And right now, the key goals of the labor code are the following. First, the promotion of social justice. This ensures that workers are treated fairly and that their rights are protected. Second, protecting workers' rights, establishing a clear establishing clear guidelines on wages, benefits, and working conditions. And lastly, ensuring industrial peace means that encouraging harmonious relationships between and among workers and employers to prevent conflicts. Okay? So this labor code is highly essential because it sets the standards for how workers should be treated and what employers must do to comply with the labor law. Okay? So, workers' rights and employers' responsibilities. For the workers' rights class, firstly, the fair wages and benefits. Okay? So this is one of the workers' rights. Like workers are entitled to receive the fair wages, no, which include the minimum wage set by the government. No, for example, right now in Metro Manila, I guess it's currently around the minimum wage is 570 pesos per day, but this varies depending upon the region class. Okay? Workers also have the right to overtime pay. If they work beyond the regular hours, these workers should be given the overtime pay. Example, um, a worker has extended his services beyond 8 hours, then he or she should be given an extra pay for that. Okay, then the 13-month pay. This is mandatory benefit class that must be given to employees every December, okay? Or before the end of the year. But in most cases in the Philippines, this 13-month pay is given every December. So, next is the security of tenure. This refers to the protection from unjust termination. Okay? This means that no employees can just be terminated without just, valid, and legal cause. For example, if an employee is fired without a valid reason, such as a poor performance or misconduct, they can file a complaint with the National Labor Relations Commission or NLRC to challenge that termination, whether the termination is legal or it is a unlawful termination. Okay? Thirdly, class, safe and healthy working conditions for the workers. This means that all workers have to be provided with a safe and healthy working environment. If a person works in a factory, the company must ensure that the machinery is well maintained and that there are no hazardous materials that could possibly harm the workers. Otherwise, it is violative to the existing law and it violates the workers' rights. Okay? If a workplace, for instance, is found to be unsafe, then the Department of Employment, the Department of Labor and Employment class can step in and require the employer to make necessary improvements and adjustments. Okay? So fourthly, the freedom from discrimination. Workers have the right to be free from any form of discrimination like gender, race, age, disability, religion. For instance, if a company refuses to hire a woman for a certain job, that is tantamount to illegal discrimination. Because why would you base the qualification for a certain position on gender? Okay? So that entangles the law, and proper remedies or legal steps can be taken to address the concern. Now, the right to join and form labor unions. Workers have the right to join or form labor unions. Okay? Example, if a group of employers feels, I mean, if a group of employees feels that their rights are being violated, these employees can form a union in order for them to collectively negotiate with the employer. So, in most cases, guys, the employer and employees can meet halfway, and that is the good thing brought by the union through the collective bargaining agreement. We shall be talking about it later on. Anyways, so let's talk about first employers' responsibilities and obligations. Principally, class, employers must comply with all labor standards set by the labor code. So if the law requires, for instance, that workers should receive or must receive a 30-minute break after 4 hours of working, then the employer has to provide that legal mandate. Otherwise, the employer could be charged. Okay? So next, providing fair compensation. This is so significant because employers are always responsible for providing fair compensation to their employees. And this includes not only just the basic salary but also the benefits that I mentioned minutes ago, like the overtime pay, like the 13-month pay, the holiday pay, and so on. Okay? Next, observing due process in employment decisions. Employers must, again, employers must follow due process when making employment decisions such as promotions, transfers, or terminations. If an employee is being terminated, the employer must provide a written notice explaining the reason for the termination and give the employee a chance to respond. That chance to respond is the right to be heard, and that right to be heard is a form of due process. And so, employees must be given due process, okay, by the employer. Now, maintaining safe and healthy workplaces. Maintaining safe and healthy workplaces. So employers are obligated to maintain this thing, class. If a workplace once again has hazardous materials or conditions that pose threat to the welfare, to the health of the employees, no, such as poor ventilation, unsafe equipment, again, the employer is mandated by law to make necessary steps to address these issues and concerns because that is an obligation provided by the labor law, mandated by the labor law to the employers. Now, Let's talk about collective bargaining and labor unions. So, collective bargaining class, technically, it is the process by which workers and employers negotiate, magsabot, no? Maghangyoay, the terms and conditions of employment. This is typically done, as I mentioned, through a labor union, in which the employees are entitled to form labor unions. It doesn't literally follow that when a group of employees has formed a labor union, they could be construed, or it could be construed as an act of trying to harass or trying to enforce the utmost will and desire of these employees. No. The purpose of this collective bargaining class, again, is basically typically to negotiate the employers on certain issues and matters. Okay? The result of these negotiations is called as collective bargaining agreement. And this CBA outlines the wages, benefits, and working conditions for the workers. Okay? Example, if a CBA or collective bargaining agreement specifies that workers will receive a 5% increase each year, or that they will have the access to additional benefits like health insurance, if that is written, if that is part of the collective bargaining agreements as considered as agreed by both employers and employees class, then it becomes binding. The employers are mandated, therefore, to fulfill their obligations and responsibilities as outlined in the CBA. Okay? So, employers, however, are required to negotiate in good faith with the certified labor union. This means that both parties must actively participate in the negotiation process in order for them to make a real, just, fair effort to reach a reasonable agreement. Okay? So, labor unions are organizations that represent workers in negotiations with employers. No? So, this plays a highly crucial role in ensuring that workers are treated fairly and that the workers' rights are protected. So, if and when negotiations fail, labor unions, take note of this, can also engage in collective action, such as the labor unions could do the strikes, or they could protest to bring attention to the concerns and also exert pressure to the employer, for the employer to make the necessary changes based on the demand of the labor union class. Now, dispute resolution and employment. Let us dissect the contents of this matter. So, these are the steps basically that can be taken when there is a disagreement, because it is a reality that not in all negotiations can can be agreed by both parties, the employers and employees. There could be a time in which a negotiation might fail, or a certain condition as demanded by the employees or vice versa is not agreed by the other party. And so, dispute resolution sets in. Okay? So, first step of dispute resolution class is the grievance procedures. Now, the first step is resolving a dispute. This entails the internal processes as outlined in the collective bargaining agreement. Again, the CBAs is being crafted and agreed by both employers and employees. Now, if a worker, for instance, feels that they were unfairly disciplined or they were unfairly treated, the employees can file a grievance with the HR or human resource department in the company or in the agency. And this issue will be addressed according to the procedures which are being outlined in the collective bargaining agreement. Okay? So it now depends on whether or not the issue is resolved. If and when the concern is not immediately resolved by the HR department, then the concern could be escalated to mediation and conciliation. Okay? And this is facilitated by the National Conciliation and Mediation Board. Now, if the grievance, as I mentioned, fails, then this step number 2 can be invoked. So, this NCMB can act as a neutral third party to help both sides reach a resolution on a existing concern or issue. For instance, if a worker and their employer are in dispute over unpaid overtime, this NCMB, the National Conciliation and Mediation Board, can mediate rather the situation to find a fair, just, and reasonable solution. Now, if and when at stage 2 the concern is still not solved, then the matter could be brought to arbitration. Okay? The dispute again can be taken to arbitration. For instance, if a worker is claiming that they were wrongfully terminated, so a worker, an employee can reach the arbitration because it is not solved during the grievance under the HR department, it is not solved under the mediation and conciliation, then the third stage is arbitration. Now, if the concern is solved right here, in this stage, this ends the concern or the matter. But again, if the issue is not being resolved, the employer can escalate the concern to step number 4. Okay? But by the way, class, before I forget, in the Philippines, arbitration is typically conducted by an arbitrator who is an impartial third party. Okay? These arbitrators are often part of institutions like the National Labor Relations Commission, NLRC, or a certain private arbitration bodies. No, it depends upon the nature of the dispute and the agreements between the parties as outlined in the collective bargaining agreements. So, in most cases, arbitration is facilitated once again by NLRC. If and when the conflict falls under the labor laws. Okay? However, for commercial disputes, like the dispute arises from business or contractual disagreements, the arbitrators may come from institutions like Philippine Dispute Resolution Center Incorporated. Again, Philippine Dispute Resolution Center Incorporated. Or the other parties may appoint independent arbitrators as per the terms of their arbitration agreement as outlined in the CBA. Okay? So, the arbitrator's decision called an arbitral award, and it is binding and enforceable under Philippine law. But again, if the issue, the concern, the matter is not resolved under the arbitration, whether it is done by NLRC or by the Philippine Dispute Resolution Center Incorporated, the concern may be escalated class to the step number 4, which is the adjudication by the National Labor Relations Commission or NLRC, wherein legal hearings on labor disputes can be done. Okay? In most cases, class, this adjudication by the National Labor Relations Commission or NLRC, it starts with filing a complaint by the aggrieved party. Whether an employee or employer. The aggrieved party could be an employee or employer. So they can file a formal complaint within, or yeah, they can file the formal complaint to the NLRC. Then afterwards, legal hearings can be conducted. Series of hearings, class, when both parties present their evidence, their witnesses, and their arguments. These hearings are presided over by labor arbiters, who are specialized officers responsible for resolving such cases. Then after the series of hearings, it is only then that issuance of decision is done. Okay? And such decision would be based on the evidence and legal arguments presented during the hearing, of course. So the decision handed over by NLRC is enforceable and legally binding. However, this is still subject to appeal. Okay? So where can you file an appeal after the hearing is not after the series of hearings conducted by the NLRC and the issue is still not solved? Now, we can refer to the judicial remedies. Okay? Again, if either party, employer or employee, is dissatisfied with the NLRC's decision, both parties have the right to bring up the case through judicial remedies. And these remedies involve appealing to higher courts in the Philippines. Okay? The first appeal should be done to the Court of Appeals by filing a petition for certiorari. Okay, class? So, a petition for certiorari, this refers to a distinct, this is distinct from a regular appeal. Okay? Because the, the, the said petition is limited to reviewing whether or not the NLRC committed grave abuse of discretion in its decision. Okay? In this petition for certiorari, class, the Court of Appeals does not re-examine evidence but determines only whether the decision-making process of the NLRC was fair and legally sound. Okay? Again, this petition for certiorari, when this is applied to the Court of Appeals only reviews whether or not the NLRC committed grave abuse of discretion in its decision relative to the complaint filed to them. Because a petition for certiorari, class, this is just a legal remedy used to seek judicial review of a decision or action made by a lower tribunal or quasi-judicial body or government agency when it is believed that this lower tribunal, that this quasi-judicial body or government agency have committed grave abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction as governed by the Rule 65 of the Rules of Court. Okay? So, the key features of this petition for certiorari, class, the grounds for filing, I mean, firstly, the lower body, no, NLRC or other administrative agency, must have committed an error so egregious, no, that it constitutes grave abuse of discretion. Then the second ground for filing of this, grave abuse of discretion occurs when a tribunal or agency acts in capricious, arbitrary, or despotic manner, violating the principles of fairness, reasonableness, and justice class. Okay? And again, this petition is not a substitute for an appeal. Okay? Because the petition for certiorari does not involve a re-examination of evidence, but the petition of certiorari focuses on whether the lower body's decision-making process was legally sound. Example, if you know, if the employer or the employee is still dissatisfied with the decision of the Court of Appeals upon reviewing by virtue of petition for certiorari class, then the aggrieved party, the employer or employee, may elevate the case to the Supreme Court. Okay? Now, the Supreme Court only accepts cases of significant national importance or those involving critical legal questions. So filing here is typically the last recourse. Okay? So when the Supreme Court already renders the verdict, the judgment, the decision, there is no um there is no court higher than the Supreme Court. So this is the end class. The decision of the Supreme Court is final and executory class. Okay? For example, if an employee feels that NLRC's decision to dismiss sa pagtangtang sa sa trabaho, no, naka-feel si employee nga unfair and unlawful class, or that the procedures were tainted with a lot of errors. So ni file og petition for certiorari to the Court of Appeals, then the appellate court or the Court of Appeals upholds the decision of the NLRC. The employee may further appeal to the Supreme Court to seek a reversal or clarification of legal principles. Okay? Via petition for the review of the certiorari. Okay? Petition for the review of certiorari class. So, that ends the discussion class. Whatever the questions that you have in mind, we can cater that the moment we'll have the face-to-face. But please take this note that the Labor Code of the Philippines obviously provides a comprehensive framework to protect workers' rights and ensuring that employers comply with labor standards. Okay? So thank you so much for your attention, and I hope this discussion has provided you a deeper understanding of the labor law and employment in the Philippines. Okay? So thank you so much, everyone. Goodbye.